Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining Sophie and I tonight for the Divine Feminine Rebirth show. We're so excited to bring this tarot special to you guys tonight. Now, just to sort of set the tone, we're not going to be really reading cards tonight. We're actually going to be talking about our favorite decks, how we got into things as well. So let's get started. And I just want to bring up. So yeah, we're going to be talking about our approach to our favorite decks. And yeah, we've got a lot of things prepared for you guys. We're going to talk about some of the origins and things to do with some cards. But before we get into that, I just want to remind you guys to please jump on over if you're not viewing this on YouTube or if you're on Rumble. Either way, please like, share, and subscribe. We see gorgeous Julie and Elena in here as well. So all of us girls work really hard to put out amazing content for you guys. And we do a lot of research and things that also goes into these shows. So Sophie and I have been working in the background to put together some information for you guys tonight. And I just want to remind you as well that Sophie has 10% off your next reading. So please use the discount code Jupiter so that you can get 10% off either with the tarot reading or having a look into the past lives, which I want to do that one with you as well. I want to go deeper in and have a look. That'll be so much fun. And don't forget, we also have 20% off with the Equinox promotion with my starseed readings and also with the mystical oracle readings, which both include aura drawings too. So this does expire on the 4th of the 4th, portal day. And happy birthday to my beautiful niece, Violet, as well. It's her birthday that day. So use Equinox in all caps to get the discount for that. So yeah, lots to prepare for tonight. First of all, we're going to start about, I think it might be best to start with first looking into the origin of tarot. What do you think, Sophie?
Absolutely.
Should we have to sort of how things started? And I can see a lot of beautiful familiar faces in here. Hi, Ken. We've got Jim, Lisa, Shauna in here. So many beautiful favorite faces that we see every week. Oh my gosh, there's so many comments to pop up. And yeah, just loving seeing all you guys in here. So thank you for joining us. So the early history to do with tarot. So as far back as what I could see, it was around the 1300s. I saw some people saying that it was around 1400s to do with, the origins of tarot. But the earliest I could find was that it was painted by Jacqueline Grenier. You're probably better to pronounce this. To entertain Charles VI of France, and this was circa 1450. The Visconti Sforza tarot deck was also created. So 74 of its cards still remain intact today, making it the most complete, earliest known tarot deck. So there's been a lot of variations, and we'll probably show you some variations tonight as well. How was it that you first got into tarot? Like, how old were you? Where were you? What inspired you?
I think I started pretty young to look at tarot cards and to be amazed. It started with regular cards, but my father is French, and he had a card deck that was different from the one that we use normally here. So the queens and the kings had big dress and big stuff. And I was just amazed looking at those cards. And that was my first glance of what could look like tarot cards. I wanted to play with them. I wanted to look at them forever. That was my first contact with cards I fell in love with. And you know it by now, but my father was really spiritual. So I was surrounded by crystals, candles at the moment while I was watching those cards. So it felt like home. It felt like I had a connection. I'm sure now it was a remembrance of me playing with tarot cards in past lives. So it was years later where I had a friend in high school that taught me the major arcana. So we're going to go over this a bit later, and the differences and things like that, and how you can get started with just the major arcana, or the minor and the major arcana. I learned the major arcana first, and I practiced with them for years before I really wanted to go with the minor arcana. So that's how I got started. How about you?
Oh, I love it that you and Julie grew up with your dad being into spiritual things, because that's quite often not the case with a lot of us rainbow sheep or black sheep in the family. And I just found Lyra. You know how before backstage, I was like, where's she gone? I can hear her. She was hiding behind a curtain.
Oh my God.
So she might join us at some point as well. So yeah, I was 15 and I remember asking for Christmas for like this astrology tarot pack that had I Ching coins, it had rune stones, and it had, I think it was more just like the major arcana as well. And yeah, I just remember like studying and like absorbing and researching and being so hungry. It's one of those things when you find what it is that you're supposed to be doing. And it's also in my Vedic astrology. So in Vedic astrology, my moon sign is Hasta, which it either gives you a choice of being a tarot reader or being a palm reader. And so yeah, I did get into palm reading when I was 15 as well. And yeah, so that was sort of like my dive into the woo, but the same thing as you, it just felt natural. It felt like it was a re-remembering that I'd already discovered that before. And I just was obsessed with it. So any of my friends that would sit long enough for me to, practice with or read with. And yeah, we'll talk a little bit further in around like the differences with our readings and things too, and how like we both intuitively do things. But I wanted to get into like, what are your favorite decks and why?
Yeah. So when I started, I took any deck. I took one deck that was I heard stories about you're supposed to let the deck choose you like it's a pet. You're supposed to have one the entire life. You're supposed to do this and this and this. I'm not one to follow the rules when I don't feel like my gut is telling me that it's wrong. So I felt that it was not for me to have one deck. And you probably know I don't have just one deck. So at the beginning, I took any deck, and then when I learned the minor arcana, that's when I switched deck, and I found this one, and this is my first one that I really chose for me, without letting the deck chose you BS. So I'm saying BS, but it may work for you guys. For me, it's BS. For me, it doesn't work because if you look at my walls here, I have full racks of spices rack that I have on my walls on both sides with full of decks. So I'm now about between 80 decks and 100. So for me, it's
Wow.
BS about this one. So this is the one that I started with. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that is amazing. That many decks. I did a clean out of mine. You're doing good.
It's a lot. So this is the one that I started with that I really enjoyed. I will show the pictures. I didn't like the pictures. I chose it because whenever I saw what a minor kind of meant, I could look at this deck and I could say, oh, it fits. And this is something we're going to talk about, how to choose your decks when you start. But for me, this is number one. If I see the minor kind of not fitting the description with the card, for me, it doesn't fit. So those are the images. And if you wonder what it is, it's called the Anna K Tarot. I forgot. I searched before the show because I forgot. I have too many. So let me just show you a few ones just randomly. I didn't pick which one, so it will be faded. So if I show you the next one and I explain what it means, just the keywords, you will know why it fits for me. So this one is Four of Pentacles. It can mean that you keep something really close to your chest, or you are cheap with money. Could be that you have a blockage, a lack. There are other keywords, but you can see how it fits. The Magician. Let me check another minor arcana, just the last one, just to explain how well it fits. So this is a minor arcana. So let's choose this one randomly. Five of Cups. Do you see this sadness? It's easy to read this deck. So that's why I picked this one. So this is the one I started with, and it's still in good shape because I switched quickly after with others. But while you are learning tarot, while you are learning with the minor arcana, pick a deck that you really can read what is going on with the minor arcanas, because there is so many to remember. So this is a sneaky energy, for example. So yeah. What is your favorite?
Oh, sorry. I pumped
We
up
have
from
to wait.
the intro. Let me pop this back up. Oh, and I just wanted to pop up Sandra's comment. So I had a great past life reading with Sophie yesterday on the 4th or the 2nd of 4th of the 2nd. I highly recommend wax and all. So it might have been something to do with candles in that
Yes,
one.
I dropped my cards in my candle.
Oh my gosh. Oh, hopefully everything's okay.
Yeah, it's meant to be, so it's okay. I think my cards are, yeah, they're still good. They're still good. It's
Yeah.
okay. Otherwise, it would have been a good excuse to get new ones.
Oh. And it's interesting how we come about like our favorite deck, because I find it's fascinating how, you know, out of all of the decks that you and I have, there's just one that just fits. And I find, with tarot, it speaks to our subconscious mind as well. So when we're doing the tarot readings too, we're actually kind of tapping in to more kind of like a quantum entanglement is what I find too. So it's like we're reading for whether it's a person, a place, a situation, or, looking into future opportunities. So we're kind of tapping into these quantum timelines. So I really see the cards as kind of like this extension that we're quantumly entangling with. And it's really kind of a tool to tap into, whether it's more the visuals or, the energy of the situation. So I am obsessed from that young age of 15. So the deck I started with was the Rider Waite as well. What's interesting, when I was looking a little bit into background, and I've got like various things that I've printed out, because my favorite deck, and Lyra has just come to join us. So my favorite deck is actually the Thoth, or I think in the States they call him Thoth. So it is based on Egyptian tarot. It is actually a Crowley deck, which I know a lot of people will be like, oh, that's quite scary. But if you look into the actual YouTubes on it and the background information and things, so it was actually painted by a lady artist, and her name is Lady Frida Harris. So both Rider Waite and Crowley were actually part of the Golden Dawn. So they kind of studied and were under the same practice and things. And he thought, right, I'm going to use like 6 months to get this deck put out, and we're going to have like esoteric symbolism, astrology symbols, occult geometry, really like all these things that are painted into the background. I do highly recommend that, anyone that's interested in really kind of diving deep into the symbology of it, looking up Lady Frida Harris tarot Thoth deck, and you'll see like the individual paintings. Some of the cards individually were like 4 paintings till the card was exactly right. But for me, like with this deck, it is just so beautiful. And the interpretations I find as well, like when I read into it, if we look into things being a tool, it really is kind of a neutral tool that speaks to my subconscious mind. And I've not had that kind of relationship with another deck. That's why I love to read upside down with this deck, because it really speaks to me. I feel the astrology, I feel the geometry that comes with it. But my favorite other deck, and one of the first decks that I bought myself, and I know you meant to get them gifted as well. And I can see Lisa saying that I'm so connected. I am. It took me probably 10 years to use the deck because, I wasn't sure about the energy of it and things like that. It just sat, in my room along with like the other 50 something decks that I had at the time. But when you read it and you realize that, that life is both filled with dark and light, just like in Kabbalah, it's filled with kindness and mercy and filled with strict justice and good and bad that comes with life. It really is a neutral tool. But this deck, which is the Universal Love deck by Tony Carmine Solono, it's an oracle deck. And just by quantum entanglement, he ended up coming into my life. He was my favorite artist, and clients were telling him about my work, and he just showed up in my life. So yeah, really interesting. I got to meet him. I got to see his private gallery filled with life-size versions of his tarot or oracle deck. So you can see here how beautiful they are. And yeah, I was literally surrounded in a room with just giant life-size oracle cards. So yeah, that's very, very special deck to me as well. I wanted to ask you as well, Sophie, you and I like really into cleaning and protection and, things of that sort of nature. I've got a very burnt Palo Santo here in my little coolerman. And I also like to use like Palo Santo and Florida water being two of the highest cleansing ones, as well as frankincense. What are some of the tools that you use like for cleaning and protection? And I knock on the decks as well to clear the energy. What kind of things do you like to do?
That one I use also to knock on the deck. I forget often, so I always have a candle so I can just pass the deck on not directly on it, of course, not like when I drop the deck in the candle, but to be fair, it was a really small one that fell into. But yeah, just passing the deck on top of a candle. I use multiple sprays, also white sage, just to sage it. Because my cat is asthmatic, my last cat and probably my new cat as well, what I do with this, I prefer this than the smudge, the smudge sage. I will put it in my hands and I will go directly like on my tarot cards with the sage instead of just putting it in the air most possible. If this is me that needs protection, I will just spray over me. Otherwise, for the cards, I will use it in my hands. Tons of crystals. So you cannot see it, but I have full, maybe 40 decks on my deck right now, and I would have one crystal on top of every pile to clear it. Which at the end of the week, I put in selenite bowl to just recharge. I use also Reiki. And if you're watching, my Reiki master, I love you. Thank you so much for protecting us. And she is also clearing my deck. So making sure the protection with the decks is clear and really protected. So that's pretty much what I do with this. The last thing I want to say is that it's good that you protect the decks, but you need to protect the reader.
Yeah.
And the reader needs also energy treatment, that you do it on yourself or you pay someone. It's okay. Purging yourself after. So if you are seeing clients, maybe take sea salt baths just to sage, purge, whatever it's to get it out, because you have entered a different energy field. And it takes more energy than other jobs most of the time because it's just energetic. So we need to just respect that also and to show a lot of grace for our energy field. Do you do the same?
Yeah, and I think that is such an important point that you mentioned, like with the aura cleansing, things like that. Even the sleeping prophet, Edgar Cayce, talked about, with mediums, readers, psychics, clairvoyants, healers, that we need to also be careful to make sure that we're not burning through more minerals. So even doing like, mineral supplements, making sure that we're getting extra compared to, I guess, like someone working an average job, the same way as like, night shift workers have different needs, mineral, vitamin wise. We actually do as well, because we're really burning through a lot of etheric energy and really a lot of spiritual energy. And your aura is glowing, by the way, as we're talking about this. You've so done this in past lives. You can just see this halo of past life energy glowing about you. But yeah, I love to do, in terms of going to see someone else, I love to go get pranic healing. And I also love spinal flow, which helps to like release any hidden or trapped emotions and things. Emotion code, kinesiology, Reiki, you name it. The aura sprays, really, really good. And even things like I've got here, this is just like a focus blend of like a little aromatherapy roll on. So I have like cleansing oils and things in a couple of these different blends that I like to use. And I also wanted to say too, I forgot to mention at the start. So the tarot traditionally does contain 78 cards. So we have 22 of them being major arcana, and then we have 56 being the minor. In the Thoth deck, you do have a bonus card, which Spirit will have nicknames for some of the cards for me. So they call it the Choose Your Own Adventure, where we get the bonus first card in the deck. So yeah, do you find that you have like your own interpretation of some of the cards too, or does spirit sort of give you a meaning for the times that we're in now? Like I know the whole last 4 or 5 years of intense energy and transformation we've gone through, different cards will have an extra applied meaning that spirit's giving me. Have you found that too?
Yeah, absolutely. What the way that I read is a bit different. So I have to start maybe there, because when I learned the minor arcana, I was with Julie. We were learning together, and we learned the minor arcana by practicing. So I just want to say, even though it felt natural to have the card in my hand, learning it, it's something else. It's not easy for no one. I don't think it was easy for nobody to learn it. You can surpass people at some point. You can find it faster to learn for you than others, but easy, not really, no. So we all started somewhere. We all had to really learn it. And I don't know for you, Sol, but I cannot wait for you to answer this. But for me, it was not easy. For Julie, it was not easy at the beginning. We had to practice for hours. With that being said, I forgot where I was going with this. What was your question?
Oh, well, I forgot what I asked you.
That's okay.
It's Mercury retrograde. You know what? We just fly with it. But I think
Yeah,
this is
fly
a
with
perfect
it.
segue into talking about like, you know, what it is, like how it was that we learned, or, you know, if there's any tips and tools for learning as well.
Yeah,
So maybe if you could answer that one too, and how it was that you did kind of memorize or,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I get what you were asking me, if there was a special meaning with this time
Oh, that's
particularly.
right.
Yeah, it's okay. If we forgot, it's because life is sending us somewhere else. So we roll with this. With tarot, it's the same. You can say different words that you were trying to say. You can have different topics showing up, then misunderstand a question or misread the card. Nothing in tarot is random. You have to go with it. And maybe that's what we are going to do this tonight, because we have to roll with this. But yes, in the beginning, when you practice, you cannot practice with someone that you know their life all, like fully, because otherwise it's not practicing with your intuition, you're practicing with your logical side of the brain. Was I frozen? You froze for a second.
Oh, it might have just been like a little glitch for a second. I was just
Okay.
changing some little banners and things around, so you might have seen like a flash with that.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, so practicing is really important. You don't pick someone that you know really a lot of that person. You need to practice with other people. So coworkers, at first I used them a lot. I used to practice for friends of friends, even date, but that's really awkward. So don't do it. I just practice a lot with people, and with Julie, what we did is every X amount of time. I don't remember what amount of time exactly, but every X amount of time, maybe 2 months, we gather for a supper, and then we practice on each other, and that helped a lot, because you need to be patient with yourself. I had the book in the beginning, and I looked every card. So that's a difference where, for me, at that point when I started to learn, I stopped quickly learning about each card, because at some point they just spoke to me. They just talked to me in some way. So I'm not the best at reading each card and saying, well, by now I'm way better than I used to be. But I'm not the best at saying what the keywords are for every card are, because early on, the way that I was learning, they started to talk to me, and now I don't even see them most of the time, and I just hear the story. So if they have, your question was, do they talk to you differently now? Yes. But I really just go with this because they are always reinventing themselves. And I always have new decks. So it's like I'm adding on new layers, new vocabulary, new stories. So it's always evolving. Is it changing for you?
Yeah, and I love that you said, like, you know, with adding on new decks, and it's so cute. I can see people saying, like, you know, even on dates. I was
The word,
thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, Sophie, that would be an amazing date.
it's horrible. It's horrible because you go with the way I read the card normally is the astrological reading. So I go with every area of their lives. And when you hit like a message and you see, oh, you're going to be ghosted, or you read for love life and oh, you're going to be single for a long time. It's horrible for dates.
Yeah. And it's interesting just the way that we all sort of come about it. I wanted to mention as well, because we really, Sophie and I love this topic so much, and it was such a great idea that you had to talk about this. So I wanted to mention just little things that we can help with the audience too. So, getting books like this and really kind of like researching. And I'm a little bit naughty when it comes to study. Uh, I've never been the best student. I love to learn. So I sometimes will sleep with books under my pillow and just say, all right, I'm just trusting that the information is absorbing. And, I passed college with doing some things like that. So, it does absorb. We do quantumly entangle ourselves, but other little things, you could even write up like a little grid system. So I've got here just like, say, for example, the card of the High Priestess. So I've got like the representation typed out, and then I've got like in the upright meaning, in the reverse meaning, I've got the arcana, and then I've got like individual notes. Now I'm still to type out like individual notes. And this is just a way that we can kind of like dive in and explore the decks, on a deeper level. But I do find that like I will refer sometimes when I'm reading for like one deck, I'll have visions of the other deck, but the same version of the card come through. And I find it so ironic sometimes how you'll be doing like, clarification or confirmation, and you might have like the Five of Cups come out, and then you have the Five of Cups come out again from another deck. And Spirit's like really trying to like get us to, to knuckle down into going, right, this is something we really need to look into. How can we heal and release certain things? As far as kind of like reading too, I found that, I studied and researched a lot into like the different forms of divination at a young age. But then when it came time to me transitioning from natural medicine and my clients saying, do you do readings? Like I always just had people kind of felt that with my energy. They would be like, oh, there's something that you do, or like you're a meditation teacher, or like I've always sort of had people, ask me things like that. So when I started reading, I literally would just sit with my client. I would close my eyes, tune into their energy, and I would read the aura. So that's why I still incorporate the auras into like the way that I read now. With my deck too, especially with like the Thoth deck, because it really like, we have a link and a relationship subconsciously. So when I'm reading this deck, I will pick things. And sometimes I even will shuffle as the client's talking, and we'll tap into the energy, because we don't always know the exact way to kind of word the question, but we can feel into kind of get a pulse check on the energy. But yeah, I do read them upside down, and I use psychometry. So I'll fill in and read with my hand, and I'll get impressions, symbols, feelings, downloads from spirit and that. So for me, the cards are really confirmation from what the spirit world is trying to tell us, or what, our higher self is trying to tap us into. And just seeing if there's anything that we needed to cover. There was something I was thinking before. We might come back to it. Oh, I did want to share. Let me bring up something I was showing Sophie backstage that I prepared that's a little bit of fun for you guys too. So let me bring this up. So while we were talking about different decks and things, I thought this was really fun. So we have, and I'll just bring this up so you guys can see it a little bit bigger. So we have the Barbie Tarot spread. So the card 1 in the spread would be your existential crisis. We then have card 2 would be advice from Weird Barbie. 3, systems to change, and 4, how to take our power back. So there's a few other fun spreads like the future love spread. These are different ones that I just found, online. So if you type in tarot spreads, you'll come up with a few that are like really, inspiring. And it's just really good. Like this was a really great 3-card spread that you can look into body, mind, spirit, past, present, future, the situation, the obstacle, the lesson, dream, life, fear. Like there's just so many different ones that you can look into around these things. Let me just pop us back up. And I think there might be one more. Yeah. Oh, compatibility, relationship spread, the Celtic cross, which we all kind of know. So yeah, these were just little infographics that I found online. Do you have a favorite spread that you work with, or do you kind of get led by spirit? How do you choose like what spread you're using?
Yes, I do have a favorite one. And in fact, I'm probably very lazy, because that's the first one that I got taught. I still use it. That's my favorite one. It's called the astrological reading. So you may have seen other people doing this. It's really, you are using the 12 houses of the astrology, which rules basically the 12 area of your life. So your energy field, money, communications, and so on, with the 12 signs of the zodiac, the 12 houses. I use that in consultation. And in fact, if you have a consultation coming with tarot and you don't have questions, just ask me about this spread, because you don't need a question. If you have, I always prefer to go with priorities with your question. But going with this spread, you can see what's coming in your life. In I don't know for you, so, but in 1 hour, I struggle to do the full 12 areas of life. But if I have priorities, I will just go over that. And that's a very meaningful spread. So that's my favorite one.
Oh, that's so cool. And you and I need to catch up and do readings for each other, because it's so much fun too. You know, not only is it informative, and Sophie, you're such an amazing reader as well, like
You
so
too.
accurate. And I love your reading. So yeah, we should get together and have some fun, like with our favorite decks and things. I wanted to know as well. Oh, and I forgot to mention. So my favorite spread, I really just get guided. It depends on like with the client. You know, spirit will tell me how many cards. Oh, the other way too. So we all pick cards different. So my great grandmother was kind of like a card shark. So, you know, think back to like the old days where they would be chain smoking. So just to set the scene, so I never got to meet her. She passed 5 days before I was born, which is intriguing in itself. But my mum always talks about, so she wasn't a tarot card reader, but she was literally like a card shark in terms of card games. So chain smoking, lighting her cigarettes off the other, which is quite disgusting. Taxidermied animals everywhere. So you can kind of imagine like that early kind of Victorian eras and the early 1920s kind of Art Deco scenes and things. But for me, like with the cards, I'm not the kind of shuffler that she was. Like for me, I'm quite a slow shuffler. But I will find that certain cards I will get prompted that visually illuminate. So it will be like a gold energy glowing, and I'll pick the cards that Spirit's showing me the glowing gold. Other times you'll see me close my eyes and I tune in. Certain times cards will literally like flip out of the deck. So I'll pick them in a different way. I always work exactly with how Spirit is guiding at the time. Generally, I like kind of like a 3-card spread to look into past, present, future if we're pattern breaking. And, with the questions, they're just as important as the spreads of cards. Sometimes you'll have 6 cards come out, sometimes 10, but yeah, generally sort of like 3 to 4 cards. And I popped up this comment about the Barbie spread. This is about having fun while you're learning as well. And this is so much information that we can learn from each other. Please pop up in the comments as well your favorite decks, because Sophie and I would love to hear. And I can see here Corbin saying, and I saw he got his first deck gifted, I think it was maybe around like 15, 16, I think. So yeah, it's just really interesting reading all of your comments as well. Thank you guys for participating in our shows too. Sophie and I really love hearing like what you guys have to say.
And let me just show you, Teddy is fully dressed for tonight's show with his bow, Maison Jupiter bow. So he's fully dressed for this show tonight.
Oh, he looks adorable. And you can probably hear Lara running around in the background. She's gone a little bit hyper because it's that time of the morning over here where she's awake and like everyone else should be awake in the house. My son is still asleep because we're on school holidays. And I wanted to check in too, in terms of like oracle decks, like I love, rune stones, and I've got a beautiful rune deck that was handmade out of apple wood that was collected. And funny story, the man who made the rune wooden deck or wooden stones, he said that he was climbing down the side of a tree to get to apple wood and almost slipped down the mountain. So there's a lot of kind of comical, funny energy that went into the making of that. I haven't got it with me. I should have grabbed that one. But in terms of like oracle decks, what would be your favorite oracle deck? And if you maybe wouldn't mind mentioning something that you're working on as well.
Oh yeah. So this is the Oracle deck that I always use. This is one of the differences with other readers. I work with tarot and Oracle all the time. So I always read one Oracle and one tarot cards together. That's just me. That's just how I do it. And with this, within this, there is 3 different decks. So let me just go over them if you don't know it. If you had never heard me say this, that's good. New information. For those of you who haven't heard this, I'm sorry, I repeat myself. So there is one by Mystic Moon Oracle. It's called the Twin Flame Journey Oracle. So this is one of my regular deck that I buy often just to change because the cards are used, because I really, really use them a lot, as you can see. So this is the one. The other one, it's my TCB Oracle. I made it myself. You can create your own decks online, and this is one of the best way to learn for tarot. I mean, this is one of the best way to learn how to do the cards and what they are, what they means. Because while you are going through the list of what they mean, you are trying to find a picture that fits that description, and you're learning this, and you're seeing things, and you adjust, and you absorb information this way. So if you want to learn tarot, maybe try to create your own tarot deck. So this is an oracle. It's not the same thing, but that made me think about this. So I create my TCB oracle deck. So it's my Elvis with all the songs. And the last one, it's just the 50s and the 20s and the 40s and everything that is just old. It's old movies, and I use them as oracle. So they just spark images in me. They just start something, and I can really, really see what is the story with this. I love to create decks. That normally sometimes I'm such a geek. That's what I do sometimes in my weekends, just because I love tarot. And what you were trying to make me say, that I'm working on making the first official Elvis deck, and it's still we're still working on this, but we are going to announce this at some point in the future officially.
And I can't wait. I was saying to Sophie backstage as well, I can't wait to like just regularly get into reading with your deck. It's going to be really exciting. And I've got a deck as well. So, you know, you and I are so similar in terms of like what we like to do for fun and like the geek side of things. So I've got my Syrian Star Cards Oracle deck, which is 44 cards. And you can see here like different things. So I started with the title. So literally just starting with 44 pieces of paper and a heading for each, which, you know, was channeled to me by spirit, and then literally had a vision or an apparition appear, sometimes eyes open, sometimes eyes closed. And yeah, you can see here, like this is the card of love. And this is the colors that I also see in a lot of people's auras. You know, this color to me also I associate with Mary Magdalene, the gold and the pink and things. And yeah, you can see here things like courage. And it was literally just what was channeled to me.
I love the colors. Those are amazing.
Oh, thank you. And look at this, wishes fulfilled. So I have little messages, like it says, you are in charge of reality. Oh, you are in charge of your reality. Take care or take pride in this and see your wishes already fulfilled. So little messages. This one you can see psychic senses. And with this one, it says things like, feel the golden white light of this card, cleanse, open, and activate your psychic senses. So I like to use this sometimes when I'm doing starseed readings. And yeah, let's make sure to cover looking into like, what are your favorite decks as well? Like, what are the ones that you feel if you had to, God forbid, like, you know, people talk about the house burning down or things of that sort of nature. What is it that you would grab? Like and it's not that we can't just replace it. Like this, I've had a few of these versions of the deck, but it's the energy that we put into things that's also important too. What is it that would be like your top 5 or more, depending on
So I will show you a couple of my favorites. So this one doesn't have a box. So it's Mystic Moon. It's the Twin Flame Journey Tarot. So it's the same thing as the Oracle, but this is a tarot version. I love it so much because I like the images. If I split randomly, you can see. Yeah, so there is keywords on each one, and the image is pretty much it's telling the story too. So I just, if I split again randomly, let's see. Yeah, splitting the deck that way doesn't work, Sophie. So maybe this way. Okay. There you go. So I like the keywords, but when it's too much to read, I don't have the time. But this one is just the perfect amount for me, so that works well. Do you want to alternate? You show one, I show one, or do you want me to just go with my list?
Oh yeah, let me just bring you back. Hold on a sec. So let me see. There's a few that I love. One that Spirit was guiding me, because I always kind of work with like multiple different things, but Spirit was guiding me to show you this one, the Forest Fae. And I think we might have talked about this maybe last week or on one of my shows. But this is just like a really quick one. You know, say like you're finishing up a reading and Spirit's like, let's give a message for the week or something to focus on. So this little creature, and I know you guys that watch our shows regularly too, have also seen the little fairies and nature spirits and things in the background. So this little creature actually has shown up in my garden here. And that was a big part of why I got this deck. So what we have for today as well, she's the mossy bray. Not all things are as they seem. Trust your intuition. So the little creatures and kind of like forest fairies and things, and this energy is really, really important, especially leading up to this, this solar eclipse coming up as well. To trust your intuition, to, trust maybe perhaps like what you feel or what your intuition is saying, rather than more than just your physical sight and things as well. And I can see here lots of you guys in the chat as well. Oh, and thank you so much, Sophie. And I really appreciate your beautiful comments too. And yeah, we do put a lot of passion into our readings. I literally feel like everything just kind of pauses and things just kind of flow through us, and we're that vessel or the channel. So we literally, it takes us so much energy with the readings. We're purely like existing in the moment, just one-on-one. So those of you that have had readings with us will understand exactly what we're talking about. So thank you for the love around that too. And I could see Lisa saying, Zorita is a fairy and so is Sophie. Which is so cute. But yeah, what would be another deck that you love working with?
Yeah, so for some weird reason, let me see. Oh, I have the box. So I have so much decks that I have to send those empty boxes back to my mother's house. This is how much I have. So this is a small deck. So let me just show you a comparison, a regular size deck. So this is the small of the one that I'm showing you. This is the regular size of a deck. So it's very, very small. And I saw this one. It's more for, when you have the first line of answer with the cards and you want to add just a confirmation, a card, another layer of message on top of it. So it's not hiding your first card. It's just when you are doing this, it's really useful. But those, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the Rider weight, I think. It says Rider. Anyway, this is really, really powerful. The small ones, for some reason of this brand, this kind of images, it's super powerful. I don't know why, but it is so powerful that sometimes I prefer to use it than a regular deck. Even if I have all the others around, I love it so much. It's so, so, so strong. You can put it in your hands and you can feel the energy. Oh, and by the way, that's another thing that we didn't talk about. I use that many decks because I do Reiki also. I do energy healing. And when I feel the energy of a deck that is not calling me, or it's tired, it's empty, it's not the right one, I have to switch. I need that vibration of energy and power in the deck so I can use it. Do you do the same thing?
Yeah, and it's funny because Spirit will quite often, looking at the decks and the setup I've got, and by the way, like I do like to store. Let me just pop this up for those of you at home. It needs a little bit of a reorganization shuffle, but little plastic tubs like this on my desk, I find just helps keep them organized. I've got a few little chakra sprays and things in here at the moment too with them. And even in like, a normal read, I'll find that my I've got another table over there too that I like to have set up. And then another like big set of drawers in the background. And I saw someone asking as well, what do we do with the empty decks? I've just got like a big cupboard that I keep the empty decks and the oracle books in, so I can kind of like quickly reference them if I need to. But yeah, it's the energy. So like the Star Tarot, this deck is another beautiful favorite deck that I have. So for example, we can see here the Princess of Cups, and with her, in different decks, she'll have various different meanings. For me, she kind of, will represent kind of channeling in that intuitional energy, but brings her wisdom and guidance to the earth. And she'll kind of embed things that come in from higher dimensions and planes. And you can kind of see that interpretation like in this deck as well. But yeah, like the Hermit, oh my gosh, like the High Priestess, like it's so hard to have like a favorite card. But yeah, you can see here with the High Priestess, she traditionally has the dark and the light pillars like we see in the Rider-Waite deck. So this will be symbolic to do with Kabbalah. So we're looking into, one will represent kindness and mercy. The other will represent strict justice. And for me, she's that middle pillar where she kind of like releases and doesn't kind of fit the program. She doesn't fit the system. She's a little bit of a system buster, but it's to do with her bringing down and channeling her higher vision. But yeah, with this particular one too, I link it to the goddess Arachne, the 13th sign of the zodiac. Yeah, but that would be one of my other favorite decks. How about you? Have you got another one you want to share with us?
I have plenty, but let's bring this one. So I don't know how you pronounce this. I will maybe use your help with this.
Oh, Tinseltown.
Okay, good. Thank you, because I have no clue how you say that. It sounds magical when you say it, but somehow in my head it doesn't work. So let me just show you the pictures. It's the 50s, Hollywood golden time. So I like this one just because it's 50s. But yes, so this one is a little bit different from the rest. It will bring some kind of a new era, new ways of seeing the cards, of course. And let me just show you. So this is, let me find the one in particular. Okay, so this one, for example, Three of Swords. We still have the same heart with three swords in it that we see in most decks, but we do have this lady wearing it instead and crying. So with the moon. So it's just adding up a lot of layers when you use different decks, but you have most of the time to start with a regular one to catch up on what are the differences in other decks and why they are that amazing. Because if you know where to start, you know what are the differences, how they use those images, and you can really appreciate the differences.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I love it that you brought up the Three of Swords, because in the Rider-Waite deck, it goes through the heart. In my other favorite deck, I don't know if I'd be able to get it out of 78 cards, whether it will cooperate and come to the surface. I can't see it at the moment. But, Three of Swords, I think it's Saturn and Libra is the energy that represents that card. But what we see with it in the Soth deck is it's a yellow flower in the center with the three swords pointed at it. To me, it's more kind of like about speaking things that are kind of connected to do with the heart chakra. So it'll have a different meaning that goes with it. So in that other deck, the Thoth one, it's called Sorrow. So it's really interesting because sometimes, our heart can be holding on to things, but we need to take the swords out. So it can talk about betrayal or backstabbing or, things happening behind our back. But for me, when I get told to use that particular deck, it's more that we have to voice and kind of purge the energy. So yeah, I find different decks will have a slightly different meaning that Spirit's wanting us to look into. But what I find the most fascinating is when they literally will give me a vision and then they'll go to that deck, and then the vision that we've talked about will appear in the deck. I love it how Spirit works that way. And I can see here one of the questions that just came up, and I can see people talking about seeing orbs in both of our backgrounds and things, that you and I have orbs around, which is so lovely. We love it when the orbs join us. Oh, here it is. Sandra's question. Do either of you find that you use certain decks more in different seasons? What would be your answer to that, Sophie?
each season I will buy new decks I will try to have new decks. So for Christmas, for example, I have new decks for Christmas, I have new decks for Halloween. So I will go more with that type of season more than spring, summer, winter. I tend to use this more because the energy around that season fits with those festivities as well. But in general, not so much. I really rotate and I really go with what the client in front of me has as a question.
Yeah, I find the same. You know, it's more kind of like spirit led, energy led, and just sometimes it'll be like they have a different auric glow to them and why I use them. Other times it'll be like, you know, if we look at decks and we look at energy being archetypal. So, say for example, some people might really resonate with like the Alice in Wonderland tarot deck, which is, you know, another one of my favorite decks that I have here as well, which is such a cute deck. You can see here the Sun card. And there is a really, really special Alice deck that I do have. One day it will be my deck. It's like $1,000 for the
Oh
deck.
my God.
And I'm like, would I be able to use them? You know, I wouldn't want to wreck them, but it's
No.
the most beautiful Alice deck I've ever seen. But this is probably like the cheaper version of it. It's more kind of like cartoonish. But the other one, oh, there's just so much energy that's gone into the creation of like a short run deck. But yeah, I can see here some other questions as well. And people seeing orbs, like when we're talking about orbs, I saw that someone literally saw an orb. And yeah, we really, really appreciate your beautiful comments. I'm just also having a look to make sure that we're covered like all the different things that I've written down.
I do have one more exercise that I forgot to say if I
Oh,
can add this.
yeah,
I know we
sure.
talked this way before, but yeah. This summer I got a chance of teaching tarot my way, and I wasn't sure I was able to teach it my way. So I learned that I can. And the person I was with during the summer that I taught my way of doing the tarot, during the days we would go, you know, doing our stuff, and I would stop sometimes and say, okay, this what happened, or this energy, or this thing, what is the card that represent this? And I would test her all day long about this. So in your mind, you can, when you're trying to learn tarot, you can go over, okay, so if I had to write a sentence or write a text to someone, but using only tarot cards, how would I go about this? So using cards reverse. So by learning that you can communicate with them as words and making your own sentences, that's another way of learning tarot. So you don't need to go the only way that people are learning. You can use your own way and do it reverse and going back to create your own learning experience.
And I haven't heard of using it in that way. That is such great advice. And thank you for our beautiful audience for your lovely comments, Sophie. And I really, really appreciate it. And I just want to also mention another way to have a look into it as well is you'll find like there's different, how I had that little grid system, the little spreadsheet and things before too. Even like, for example, you'll have, let me just find this one. So with the Thoth deck too, you will find some people have put up some information. So say, for example, this little, I'll just bring up my screen a little bit bigger for a second. So you can see here, like it's got the wands, and then you can see like the number associated with it, the sign associated with it, the decan, the ruler of the decan, and then you can see the root of the powers. So like this is, you know, to do with fire because we're dealing with wands. And then you see like what the energy word represents to embody that energy too. I find that things like this, you know, there's so many different tools that we can look into to kind of help us memorize or to embody it. But if I really kind of step back from all of that, and when I let the tarot teach me rather than me trying to absorb it, and that way I found it was much easier. So I kind of sometimes say if I don't have a deck on me, and sometimes like if someone asks me a question, I might still receive visions, whether it's like of astrology symbolism or the different tarot cards will kind of appear. And I find too, sometimes say if I'm reading for someone and we've got Queen of Wands energy. But what I'm sort of sensing is that they're struggling to make the leap into
Mm.
Queen of Wands. I quite often will talk about the Princess of Wands, and I'll talk to them about, how they might be people pleasing, or they might be sort of putting all their energy into other things, having their throat chakra suppressed, and literally getting pulled out of alignment of their own vision and onto other people's things. So we talk about like the difference to embody Queen of Wands energy to get us out of Princess of Wands. But both of them have like a different archetypal energy. And it's so interesting because nearly every time that we talk about that and we pick clarifiers, the princess will come up for spirit to be like, yeah, we're right on the money with, looking into this kind of situation. Do you have that with certain cards too, that you find that there's like a lesson that comes with a certain other stream of cards? Like for me, Eight of Wands, Spirit will always reference that as a quantum jump into High Priestess energy, talking about really kind of not being distracted, not kind of like shooting your energy in multiple directions. Do you find like you've got certain kind of flagship cards in that way too?
Nothing comes to mind with this, but what it reminds me of is that sometimes my oracle deck or my tarot card, well, more oracle, I would say. Sometimes I have oracle that has an initial meaning, but they always come up with another meaning in every reading. So, for example, I have one card. For sure, I have 300 cards. I will not be able to find it under 2 seconds. But I have one card of oracle. It's a brush, a paintbrush, and it's a blue background, and it says Muse. And this card always shows up for throat chakra, nothing else. Never anything that has to do with muse or brush with paint or anything. So cards have also an energy of their own, and they learn through you. So if you know a meaning of a card and you use it, even if it's a wrong meaning, they will know that you know this meaning this way. So they will use that card this way. So they learn through you and you learn through them. So it's very interesting, that dynamic with your cards.
That's so true. And, I find too, the more that we get out of our own way, like I found with doing readings and things, that, when we first start out, we can feel anxious. We can be worried about getting something wrong or like the client's expectations and all of this. The more that you literally train, because it's all to do with our subconscious, is so entangled with the quantum universe. The quantum universe is trying to bring us the answers. So when we can get our logical mind out the way and we can go with the first vision, the first color, the first impression, or the first kind of psychic intuition around the card too. And then sometimes, you can talk about like the general background of the card, but generally spirit is using what's in the filing cabinets here is what I find. So sometimes you will even get examples or movies or visions or songs that spirit will add to the cards. And that's what I love about the way that you and I read, Sophie, is that, it's not just limited to the cards. And, I would say for those of you that are wanting to learn at home or already doing it, you've got to make it your own. And that's the thing I think I put so hard on myself at the start, in that I thought that I had to read in a particular way. And, that's when I wasn't using cards and I was just talking about visions and things of that sort of nature. But, we can incorporate all of these beautiful tools. And this is why I also do the aura drawings too, because I like to incorporate, my vision and kind of paint the movie and explain the different colors and placements and things. So, we can use anything as a tool. I've even seen little silver charms pulled out of a charm bag and thrown on a little tray that represent like the journey and things too. So we are coming to the top of the hour. Is there anything that you feel that you really want to mention that we may have left out talking about tarot?
Yeah, the first mistake I see in a lot of people trying to learn tarot is they practice on themselves only. And that for me is the mistake number one, because when you read for yourself, for someone, like I said, that you know too much, you're not going to read through your intuition. You're going to read through logic. And this is the worst that you can do. So I never read for myself. I rarely read for the one that I know a lot. If I know a lot about people and they ask me, like Julie or my friends, I will say nothing of the situation or let me read without a question. Because when you know too much, you're going to be tainted and you're not going to be, like I said, in your intuition. So practice on others. And it's okay to make mistakes. Don't be too hard on yourself. Practice with, like I said, coworkers, friends. lots of you are saying in consultation, I have no one to practice with. I'm sure this community right now can have some contacts so you can practice with each other because it's worth it.
Yeah, and I can see Jake also saying he would love to do a tarot reading course with you, Sophie, as well. And that's the thing. It's like being kind to yourself. Really, give yourself patience with this and view it as fun. Because the more that we're kind of like tapped into this excitement, the more that we have less expectations on ourselves too. So doing like different breathing exercises or kind of a meditation beforehand, connect to higher self, connect to source. Always ask for protection as well is one thing that, I'll always continue to do. There's not a day that you and I wouldn't ask for a protection with this. And yeah, I can just see so many other people really, really loving the tarot. So I just wanted to also remind you guys to please like, share, and subscribe. Let me just bring this window back up, over at Maison Jupiter. And please, whether it's on the YouTube channel or on Rumble, or if you're viewing this on X, the old Twitter as well, we just appreciate a little bit of a shout out or a like, share, or subscribe. It doesn't take long just to even leave a little comment just to say that you enjoyed the show or that you would like more of this kind of content. And yeah, I feel that we could still talk on this topic for ages. So it's sad that we have to go, but yeah. Also 10% off with your next reading with Sophie. So please use Jupiter in all caps, either for a tarot reading or past life reading. And I also have a couple of spots available for the end of April. So this is the last or second last day to use this code. So we won't be doing the 20% off again. This was just a beautiful introduction that Julie put together with me coming on over to Maison Jupiter. So please use Equinox in all caps for either a starseed reading when we look into your origin and your mission here, or a mystical oracle reading as well. So it does incorporate aura drawings, tarot, and some oracle cards, as well as looking into your questions and things. But I just wanted to thank our audience, and I can see Ocean also doing a shout out. So yeah, please show the love in that way. And yeah, I wish I could pop up all of your comments. Is there anything that you wanted to finish by saying, Sophie?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked because I had a reading with you and I enjoyed that so much. So just be assured that I am really recommending you. Of course, you are more than amazing. And I'm not just saying that, I would not say those exact same words. Trust me, if that was not the case. I really enjoyed our session together. So feel free to book with her with that 20% off, because this is your moment to really get your reading. If you are waiting for a sign, this is your sign. Get your reading with her. She's amazing.
Thank you so much. Well, I love you, sister, and thank you for that beautiful glowing review. I really appreciate that. And yeah, we hope you enjoyed our show on tarot and looking into the different topics. Let us know if you would like to hear different subjects and things like this again. Yeah, there's so much that we could go into on this. So I hope you all have a beautiful night, and so lovely to see you, Sophie. Bye.
Bye.